Welcome to the Mile High Scale Modeler channel. This is the 1972 Nova SS Pro Stocker model kit by AMT that was re-released back in 2017. The kit took me about 4 months on and off to complete as I was building other model kits at the time. I tested out the paint color over white, gray, and black primer. I decided on the gray primer. So the body was primered with Stynylrez Res Gray Primer. The color is Tesser's One-Shot Lacquer Star Spangled Banner Blue that I decanted, thinned with Mr. Leveling Thinner, and airbrushed at 18 psi. I used Mr. Hobby's Super Gloss UV Resistant Clear that was also decanted and thinned with Mr. Leveling Thinner. I airbrushed it at 20 psi. The clear was laid down with a light mist coat tack and left for 10 minutes. The next coat was a medium coat and left to sit for 10 minutes as well. The final coat was a medium wet coat in which I directly placed the finished body in my dehydrator for 24 hours at 105 degrees Fahrenheit. There was very little orange peel after the body had cooked in the dehydrator for 24 hours. I wet sanded the body from 3200 to 12,000 grit. Each grit as I move up, I went in opposite directions of horizontal or vertical. This allowed for all scratches to be removed as I worked up in grit. Once I was finished wet sanding and satisfied, I moved on to the 5-step polishing system. Yes, I know 5 steps may be too much, but it works for me and it gives me the contest quality shine I want. Body chrome is from the kit, however I did dull it down with a thin black wash. The remaining chrome for the wheels and engine components were stripped using purple power degreaser and re-chromed using the 3-step spastic system, which includes a black base, the chrome, and clear. This isn't the normal chrome I airbrush with, however I wanted to test it out and see how it performed. It didn't perform as well as I'd hoped compared to All-Clad. However, I think it was the clip that may have caused me to not be as happy as I wanted to be with the finished result. The windshield trim and door trim was done with bare metal foil. Black wash was used on the wheels, brakes, engine, and undercarriage. Brake lines were added to the build and detail master fittings were used. The Tamiya weathering set was used to bring a somewhat rustic, dirty undercarriage look on the undercarriage itself. The tires were sanded down using a drill bit and some 120 grit sandpaper. Tires were then cleared with Tesser's dull coat. Hoosier decals were placed on the tire walls and another round of Tesser's dull coat was used to seal in the decals. The U-joints for the drive shaft are from the Revell 41 Willie Street rod. Sewing pins were used for the bolts on the U-joints. The drive shaft is aluminum K and S tubing. The engine bay is detailed with many aftermarket parts from Parts by Park and Detail Master. I scratch built the gauges next to the manifold. A lot of racers back in the day who would work on their cars by themselves needed a way to see the gauges while tuning. So they bought or made a gauge cluster and mounted it in the engine bay instead of having to always go to the gauge cluster on the dashboard to see where the oil pressure was or how hot the engine was based upon the tune they were trying to achieve for the next drag event. The end here has aftermarket seatbelts, which unfortunately I could not get a good shot of. The interior has a dark gray flocked carpet and the dash has a custom tack with blue and yellow wiring to go with the theme of the build. The shifter is a yellow sewing pin. All door locks and trunk locks are sewing pins as well. My idea for this build was to build a weekend warrior door car that was kept clean on the outside, but inside the engine compartment and on the undercarriage you can tell it was raced and raced hard to win. There are unfortunately some fingerprints on the windows which I could not get rid of based on the fumes from the CA glue that exposed them. Now there's a slideshow of this build to view.